Well, first of all, that's my title, Sustainable Wood, what's that all about? And that's me, Mike Jeffree, consultant, editor now at TTJ. I've actually been editor and consultant now for the thick end of 25 years. And TTJ itself is 150 years old. So it's anniversaries all round. So first of all, my topic, sustainability, which everybody's obviously talking about, politicians, decision makers. I'll start by getting a commercial plug-in. I and 3 colleagues just a few weeks ago launched a new company. What we set up is a consultancy and online news information service called Sustainable Wood. And logically enough, we advise and report on all aspects of timber sustainability and efforts to achieve it. It's a big job. Essentially what we're doing is addressing ways being used and developed to ensure and assure sustainable supply of one of the highest embodied carbon manufacturing and construction materials known to humankind. We're also looking at latest advances in how that material is being employed to make the most of its environmental benefits. The underlying premise is that sustainable forests are underpinned by a sustainable wood industry, and those sustainable forests are of course in turn key to combating climate change and ultimately maintaining the conditions for our comfortable life on Earth. Against that backdrop, when Jeff Rhodes asked me to present here today, I thought, I'll talk about sustainable wood in the holistic sense and the challenges of and potential for accomplishing it. Then, having pondered my theme, I belatedly read Jeff's email one more time and saw I had just 20 minutes. My reaction was, blimey, what have I committed to? It's a vast topic, plus journalists such as I, who get paid by the word, we tend to be a bit verbose, so 20 minutes barely covered my introduction. So I had to think and fast. The result is very much a whistle-stop tour, highlighting some of the latest developments which will hopefully help us get to that target of sustainable wood and get to it in time. So wood and sustainability. If you ask the average person on the average street what came to mind when you put those two words together, and they think about combating illegal logging and saving the rainforest and orangutans, if they knew a bit more about it, they might bring up this subject of certification under a sustainable forest certification scheme to assure sustainable management of forest products and sustainable production of timber. Namely, the two main ones, which are the Forest Stewardship Council, or FSC, and the Programme for Endorsement of Forest Certification, or PEFC. I'll press a button now. Well, that's sustainable wood, sorry, I should put that earlier, sorry. take the web address if you fancy it. FSC and PFC. They would, of course, be on the money to mention these schemes as helping ensure sustainable forests and consequently the supply of sustainable wood. The FSC was primarily founded by the environmental NGOs and is held up by them as the gold standard. And with their eco-blessing, it does tend to adopt a my way or the highway approach. The PFC was set up by forest owners, so tends to get a less good press than the Greens. But impartial comparison of the two schemes has concluded there's little separating one from the other. Or as one put it, there are essentially two ways to skin the sustainable forest management cat. The main difference is that the FSC has a set of principles and criteria to which forest managers and forest product suppliers have to adhere, while the PFC endorses national forest sustainability schemes to its standard. At base, the aim of both schemes is adoption of approaches to forest management that are in tune with nature and ensure no more trees are harvested and grown, so that forest cover and its carbon and wider environmental benefits are maintained. Adherence to their scheme, they say, results in a virtuous circle. They ensure sustainable supply of timber and forest products, and such products are, of course, generally accepted as environmentally superior to alternative, more energy-intensive raw materials. Sustainable forest supply, in turn, ensures long-term commercially viable forestry and forest products industries. These create the incentive to maintain forests as forests, and disincentivize their conversion to other uses, palm oil plantations, agricultural land, mining and building development, which remains the key driver of deforestation worldwide. Both FSC and PFC also address sustainability in the round. They look to assure maintenance of flora and fauna biodiversity, habitat preservation and water system protection. They cover workers, local community and indigenous people's rights and their health and well-being in the broadest sense. They both also operate chain of custody systems, so certified timber and other forest products reaching the market can be tracked back to a certified sustainable forest and can consequently carry the FSC or PFC labels. And it must be said that through their labelling and wider marketing and communications, they have done a great job in raising global public and political awareness of the need for sustainable management to maintain forests, their biodiversity and their capacity to regulate the climate. However, there is a but here, and it's quite a big one. It's while the FSC has been around since 1993 and the PFC since 1999, so far just 11% of the world's forests are certified sustainable under their schemes. Moreover, most of the certified area is large-scale public and private softwood forest, and according to the UN Economic Commissioner for Europe, 48% is in North America, 25% in Western Europe, and 14% in the CIS, the former Soviet Union, and primarily in Russia. With the exception of some parts of the CIS, perhaps, and as an aside, since the invasion of Ukraine, Russian and Belarusian FSC and PFC certifications have been suspended. These regions are generally regarded as the low-hanging fruit for certification schemes. They have pre-existing strong legality frameworks governing forestry and environmental protection, which effectively lay the groundwork for compliance to FSC and PFC standards. Where certification has signally failed to take off is where deforestation over the last 70 plus years has been the highest, the tropics. The region still has 45% of the world's forest cover, but that area has shrunk dramatically. In 1947, tropical forests covered 14% of the world's land surface. Today, that's down to barely 6%, and according to the International Tropical Timber Technical Association, just 6.5% of tropical production forest is certified. Moreover, the World Population Review states that 8 out of the 10 countries with the worst deforestation rates are tropical. A key reason PFC and FSC certification haven't grown and spread faster, say commentators, is the cost and complexity of their schemes. In particular, these act as deterrents for smallholders and communities who combined manage a huge area of tropical forest. Recently, both international certification schemes have taken steps to address the issue. Late in 2021, PFC endorsed the Congo Basin Regional Certification Programme under its Pan-African Forest Certification offshoot. This covers Gabon, Cameroon and the Republic of Congo, and through economies of scale is intended to defray the cost of promotion of certification to forest managers and of certification itself. Last year, the FSC launched its continuous improvement procedure for community and family-run forest operations to simplify certification and make it a stepwise approach that can be completed in stages over time. Despite these steps, though, the consensus is that the growth of these two international certification schemes has reached a plateau from which it's going to take significantly more action for them to shift. But there are other initiatives to tackle loss of tropical forest. The most ambitious in recent years has been the EU's Forest Law Enforcement Governance and Trade Action Plan, best known, despite being one of the clunkiest acronyms around, as FLEGT. With the UK in pre-Brexit days being one of its lead drivers, this was designed to harness market access in the battle against illegal logging. Timber producer countries signed up to enter voluntary partnership agreements with the EU, undertaking to establish nationwide timber legality assurance systems, with legality seen as a vital first step towards achieving sustainability. Once these systems met with producer country and EU approval, the former could issue FLEGT licenses for export. These gave their timber and other forest products green lane preferential access into EU markets, including the UK. The FLEGT programme is seen by some as having benefits over third-party certification and verified legality schemes, as timber legality assurance systems developed under it are national and backed by law. By contrast, voluntary third-party sustainability certifications, such as FSC and PFC, of individual forest management units, results in islands of sustainability in what potentially can be an unsustainably managed wider landscape. For one thing, that limits their value in terms of biodiversity and habitat protection. FLEGT is also focused on broad stakeholder engagement. It involves communities, indigenous people, and smallholders in forest policy. Compliance is also claimed to be more affordable and easier for small to medium-sized forest and timber operations. A total of 15 tropical countries eventually signed up to the FLEGT project, accounting for a significant share of globally traded tropical timber. There have, of course, been challenges for this approach too. It has taken keep forgetting those slides. It's taken producer countries far longer to establish national governance systems than anticipated, and so far only one country, Indonesia, has achieved FLEGT licensing status. The EU and its member states have also been criticised for not promoting the initiative effectively enough in the EU markets. Moreover, now the EU is taking a different tack, with final approval given this month for introduction of the so-called deforestation regulation. This aims to ensure that certain so-called forest and ecosystem risk commodities placed on EU markets are not implicated in deforestation or forest degradation. These include timber, plus coffee, cocoa, soya, palm oil and cattle and their derivatives. It's a far-reaching new measure, which includes the obligation on businesses trading in these goods to provide geolocation coordinates for the exact plot of land from which they were sourced. The deforestation regulation also effectively supersedes FLEGT in the EU. FLEGT licenses remain as proof of legality in EU markets, but no longer provide a green lane. FLEGT voluntary partnership agreements are also superseded with forest partnerships, although it's not yet clear what these will entail. However, FLEGT has accomplished much. Getting Indonesia to licensing stage was significant. It hasn't eradicated deforestation, but its rate is nothing like as bad as it was in the early 2000s, when the Indonesian government itself acknowledged that 80% of its exports were probably illegal. Under its auspices, other countries which signed up to FLEGT say that they have also significantly enhanced their timber legality assurance systems and the timber tracking systems that go with them, and they say they will continue to advance them to help achieve the ultimate goal of sustainability. In an international market where a growing number of countries are following the example of the US, the EU, Japan and Australia, and imposing timber import legality requirements, FLEGT countries also see their legality assurance systems as increasingly important commercially. What is more, the UK, which is one of Europe's biggest importers of timber and wood products from FLEGT partner countries, it continues to support the scheme, and it gives preferential market access to FLEGT licensed goods under the UK timber regulation. In addition, the UK is a prime mover behind another new project, also intended to use market access to drive sustainable timber production. The seeds of the broader Market Recognition Coalition were sown in the Tropical Timber Accord. This was initiated by Timber Development UK, formerly the Timber Trade Federation, and presented at COP26 in Glasgow, where it was billed as a major new initiative to tackle illegal deforestation and strengthen legal governance frameworks in tropical forest producer countries. The coalition now comprises 6 countries: Indonesia, Ghana, Guyana, Cameroon, the Republic of Congo and Liberia, and it's being supported by the TDUK with UK government funding. Engaging public and private sectors and civil society in coalition countries, the aim is to set and meet key indicators for national sustainability forestry systems and to promote this achievement internationally with the objective of green lane preferential access in consumer markets internationally. Or as TDUK puts it, the intention is to drive transformative change in the forest sector by encouraging good governance with a strong market incentive. Forest and timber sustainability assurance systems are also afoot in the US. While North America may account for 48% of all FSC and PFC forests relative to the total size of the continent's forests, this is still a modest area. The key obstacle to certification in the US is generally seen to be the extreme fragmentation of forest ownerships. While there are large swathes owned by the state and big business, over 50% of the US forest is owned by more than 10 million private individuals. These family holdings average 25 acres and are managed on a low-intensity basis, harvested intermittently as the income is needed. Apparently paying college fees is a key reason for felling a few trees. There's a belief that privately owned forests passed down through the generations are inherently sustainable, plus given their size, low harvest rate and earning potential, getting certified is seen as overly difficult and expensive. And this is how one hardwood sawmill and forest owner at an American Hardwood Export Council convention described it. I won't read the American accent. But he said, if some guy comes to me and says, if I give him a bunch of money, they'll certify that my forest is still growing, like it's done since my great-granddaddy's day, I'm going to tell him to kiss my derriere. Although he didn't say derriere, I don't think. The issue now facing particularly the US hardwood sector, however, is that with the international spread of timber import legality standards, and more likely EU is expected to become sustainability standards, Trade in uncertified timber is set to become increasingly challenging. The EU deforestation regulation is in fact viewed as a particular problem by America, given its requirement for timber origin geolocation. As US hardwood mills may source from dozens or even hundreds of private forest owners one year, and a different dozens or hundreds the next, providing GPS coordinates for every piece of wood would be an enormous task. Against this backdrop, the American Hardwood Export Council, with US government backing, has just initiated development of the Sustainable Hardwood Coalition. A certification scheme, this is being based on detailed analysis of risk of illegality and unsustainability of timber in each hardwood producing state, taking into account a range of factors. The certification will then apply to all forest owners within the state's jurisdiction at no cost to them, with the plan being that the scheme is funded by charging a licence fee to those companies who use the coalition's label on timber and wood products. The concept is also for the scheme to be underpinned by a system to identify origin and species of traded timber based on a geo-referenced wood sample library and science-based traceability techniques, such as stable isotope ratio analysis. This is being developed by World Forest ID, and I can give you their website address if you're super keen to know more about stable isotope ratio analysis. But of course, achieving sustainable wood is about more than sustainable forest and timber certification and chain of custody systems. With global timber demand set to grow fourfold by 2050, it's also about maximising use of the forest resource, getting the most out of the least timber. Given the climate crisis, it's also about maximising wood's carbon storage potential, ensuring that the CO2 is locked into the timber for the longest time before it's released once more into the atmosphere. The good news is that there are positive developments underway here too. Take timber processing machinery, for instance. Machine makers are focusing increasingly on yield, ensuring maximum output of timber and wood products and minimum waste. I asked Malcolm Cuthbertson, UK Managing Director of leading machine makers Vinig, to give me some examples of the resulting technology. He pointed to 3 pieces of the company's equipment and said he could come up with more. He said the combination of the company's latest scanning technology, crosscut saws and finger jointers results in long, usable boards of perfect quality, with the only residue to go to the boiler being pure, utter rubbish, in his words. I think that was a technical term. Sustainability is also about making products that last, and there have been major strides in enhancing timber durability too, and in a sustainable, low environmental impact way. Accoya, for example, is now one of the best-known timber brands, using the process of acetylation to change the actual structure of the softwood it's based on to give it the durability of a hardwood. Meanwhile, the timber preservative sector is today focusing on treatments that achieve maximum lifespan for timber and minimal environmental impact in processing. When I picked the brains of Andrew Hodge, European Marketing Director of treatment producer Xarda, he highlighted their Tanasote product. This replaces creosote, which is being increasingly regulated off the international market due to its carcinogenic properties and wider toxicity. Tanasote gives heavy-duty exterior use timber products like utility poles and railway sleepers a service life of 40 years, and treated timber can be recycled as other exterior use products. It's even billed as safe for use on playground equipment. There have also been significant advances in development of new wood-based materials to enable use of every ounce of fibre from every tree from top to bottom. To highlight their focus on this, 2 of the leading Nordic forest product giants have changed their brands. UPM is now UPM the Biofor company, while Metza is now Metza Fibre. They've been developing a range of new high-tech wood fibre-based products from textiles to jet fuel. And this is UPM's Biofor concept car. It features thermoformable wood door panels, wood plastic composite interior fittings, and wood-based substitutes for fossil fuel-based rubber and plastic fillers. It also runs on UPM Verno, a wood-based biodiesel. The question arises, of course, as to whether these alternative uses for fibre will deprive the timber industry of raw material, but the developers insist the 2 can exist in harmony, with their focus on using the parts of the tree that are underutilised and tend to go straight for use as fuel to energy generation. So ultimately, sustainable wood is wood that is sustainably produced, sustainably processed, and sustainably used in manufacturing and construction. And there, of course, have also been dramatic developments in the latter in construction, enabling us to make arguably most sustainable use of and reap perhaps the greatest wider sustainability benefits from sustainable wood. New generation engineered wood construction products
cross-laminated timber or CLT, laminated vinyl lumber or LVL, and glulam enable us to build bigger and better in timber. They lock in hundreds, even thousands of tons of global warming CO2 for decades, potentially a century or more. And they deliver buildings that are energy efficient, just as robust as concrete and steel, but lighter, so less intrusive and disruptive to build. A prime example is the just completed 7-storey black and white office building in London, designed by Wall and Thistleton architects. It uses CLT panels for floors, walls and ceilings, even the stair and lift shaft. The facade frame is in glulam, and beams and columns are in beech laminated vinyl lumber. This is an extremely strong product, enabling these elements to be gracefully slender. It's another example of using less timber to do more. The finished building achieves an embodied carbon saving of 37% over a concrete-based equivalent, and project architect Dave Lomax maintains that it's the model for all structures of this type and size, particularly for dense urban environments. And if you thought sustainable timber building is all about use of sustainable softwood and temperate hardwoods, think again. Leading Canadian timber specialist architect Michael Green says engineered timber and fast-growing, sustainably harvested timbers like eucalyptus and blue gum can be used to meet the housing needs of the fast-growing and rapidly urbanising populations of developing tropical countries. And Dutch architect Boris Zeiser is proving the point, using sustainably sourced tropical timber, including Iroko glulam, to build entire houses, and this Villa van Herk is one of them. In his sales pitch to clients, he strongly makes the sustainability case for building in tropical timber. Our use of sustainable tropical wood incentivises its production, he said, and it will ensure we have forests for the future. If we don't use it, instead of forests, we will have fields full of cows destined to be beef burgers. And these are my wrapping up sustainable wood reasons to be cheerful. They are the fact that new governance, sustainability and traceability initiatives are emerging to drive forward and incentivise sustainable forest management. New technology and processing methods are getting maximum use out of the timber. Innovative new timber products are also being developed. Modern wood-based building makes maximum sustainable use of wood, given the volume of carbon it stores and the length of time it stores it. And finally, decision makers are increasingly realising that sustainable wood is the ultimate raw material for aiding the vital global transition to a low-carbon circular economy and to ensure that we maintain the environment that we can live in. Thank you very much.